what really happened then is in the power of the Holy Spirit, all these scriptures and everything I'd learned for years just kind of started fitting together in my head, and I started seeing everything in a whole new way. And basically, because of the way all this happened and what God had shown me in that dream, I didn't believe the world anymore. I just didn't believe what anybody said to me about the Bible or about spiritual matters, and I just had to know myself. And he just led me to that, to where I could understand what he was saying to me. And that's really was the beginning of my ministry. And over the years, what happened is Yahweh led me to know more about myself. It's kind of like the more I learned about him, the more I learned about me. And I learned about my family. I didn't even know that we were of Israel. And he kept talking to me about that. But I was reluctant to accept that, because at the time, that didn't even mean anything to me. Well, it's like, so what? Because I hadn't come to the point of putting all this together. And I had an experience where I got invited to this family reunion. And it all happened in one day. My sister invited me to go to this family reunion to the town where my mother was born. And so I went there with my sister, and we got there a little early. And she said, well, would you like to see the house where our mother was born? And I said, yeah. So we looked it up, and we found it, and we went there. I'd never been there before. And there was yellow tape all around the property saying condemned. And there were bulldozers on the yard. And it was scheduled to be bulldozed under to become a strip mall within days. And the house was built out of all these stones, small stones out of the river, by my grandfather. And had a big D in stone in the side of the house. And I went inside the house, went all through the house, and it was just amazing, because I'd never been a person who had like interest in my relatives, or my family. And so it was just really amazing, and something was going on when I was there, but I didn't fully even get that, but I was just amazed by it. And after being there at the house, we went to this family reunion, and I had this really ancient aunt. My mother was one of 13 children, and she died when I was 12 years old. So I had been disconnected from this family for a long time. And so I had one aunt that was very old, and I spent some time with her, and she offered to tell me this family secret. And basically she said, well, this is a family secret, and I guess it's time that you find out about this. And she told me that our family was Jewish, and I was surprised. And she said, yes, the family is actually from the house of David. And what happened was the family was persecuted in Europe and driven from place to place. Finally, they were driven to Scotland. From there, they were driven to Wales. And in Wales, they anglicized their name, basically assimilated, in order to stop all the persecution. And so this was really an amazing story to hear about my family. It made a lot of sense to me when I heard it. And that's really how I knew about this. But that was just a confirmation from Yahweh. I don't think everybody gets that. And so I just think that's a blessing that happened. But it just explains something to me. But even then, I didn't fully know what all of this meant. And in time, Yahweh kept showing me more. And really, basically, it was at the turn of the century that things really changed for me. Over the years, I was involved in ministry. I continued to be in ministry, but it wasn't this ministry. It was like home churches. I did some missionary work, different things. But Dawn and I were in ministry, and really it was around 2000, Yahweh really started talking to me about time and time changing. And we were digging a lot more into what the scriptures say about time, about keeping Yahweh's appointments. And we were getting less and less Christian and more Israelite is what was really happening to us. And around 2003 was a very important year for us because that's when we came to Texas. And in Texas, Yahweh put us where we are now, which is really kind of separated from everybody, where our house is literally in the middle of a cow field. He took us to a place where we don't know anybody, and he just wanted us in a place where he could talk to us. And so that's what has happened there. And he gave me, in the time that I was there spending with him, all of this message that I have. And he told me I was going on the radio, didn't tell me when. We started buying some radio equipment and stuff, and it just sat in the corner. And then he started speaking to me. He started saying this phrase, covenantal responsibility. And all the time, he was saying covenantal responsibility. And what he was facing me with, really, is that I have a responsibility, according to his covenant with my nation, with my family, to step up to that. And, when we're faced with responsibility, we can do one of two things. We can either say, okay, I'm here, or we can say, there's no way. And so I came to the point where I said basically what I had said all those years ago. Yes, well, if you'll be with me, yes, I'll step forward. And it wasn't too long after that that we actually got invited to have a radio program on satellite radio. And out of that developed the radio program we have now. And that happened right at the end of 2007, 2005, right at the end of 2005, and going into 2006, which I find very, very interesting in talking with Troy and Debbie, because I understand that KDSH started broadcasting right around that time. And of course, none of us knew one another, but I think we had been experiencing very similar things because of the timing that we were in. KDSH was called to a certain ministry. And at that time, we were being called into our radio ministry. And it wasn't too long after that Troy contacted me and asked me to have my program on KDSH. And I have it on some other stations too. But it's been really interesting coming here to visit, because it's kind of like a certain circuit has been completed in a way. That's kind of what it feels like to me, being here, and feeling like Troy and Debbie, in a certain way, were sort of along a similar track. And now this connection is made, and we know about each other, and we know about how Yahweh had been working with with each of us along similar lines. And of course, we all know other people in this same kind of time frame where Yahweh has been doing this, and we've been watching and observing. We've been looking into the scriptures, we've been listening to the Spirit of God, and we have seen that he is in fact raising up the remnant of Israel. We are not crazy, and we are moving forward in reality, even though it seems like unreality to a world that lives in Disneyland.
O house of Israel, weep for joy. I brought you out of the nations. House of Israel, weep for joy.